When it comes to understanding how men fall in love, the very first thing you need to know is this: respect comes before romance. And that might sound simple, but it's often overlooked. Here's the truth: men can be drawn to beauty, they can be pulled in by charm, they can be impressed by style, but none of that makes them fall in love. What makes a man's heart actually shift, what makes him choose to go deeper, is respect. Respect isn't about blind agreement, it's not about pretending he's perfect, and it's not about putting him on a pedestal. It's about recognizing the effort he puts into his life, his work, his family, his goals, and treating that effort with value. See, men are wired to seek purpose. They want to feel like they're building something, contributing something, doing something that matters. And when he's with someone who respects that, not just what he's already achieved, but what he's still fighting for, that respect touches a deeper part of him than attraction ever could. Respect says, I see you. I see the man you're trying to be, and I honor that. And when he feels that, love starts to root itself. Think about this for a moment. You can admire how someone looks, you can enjoy their presence, but the second you feel disrespected, everything shifts, right? It's the same for men. The fastest way to close a man off is to dismiss him, to belittle him, to roll your eyes at what matters to him. But when you show him that what matters to him matters to you, that's when his heart begins to trust. That's when he starts moving from interest to investment. Now, let's be clear. Respect doesn't mean silence. It doesn't mean you can't disagree. In fact, a man respects you more when you hold your ground, when you share your perspective with honesty. But the way you bring it matters. Disagreement can still carry dignity. You can challenge someone and still communicate, I value you. And for men, that balance is magnetic. When he knows that even in the tension, you're not tearing him down, he begins to see you as safe. And love only grows where safety exists. Here's where a lot of people get it wrong. They think respect is about boosting his ego. It's not. It's about recognizing his humanity. It's about understanding that behind the roles he plays, behind the responsibilities he carries, there's a person who wants to be seen as capable, worthy, and good enough. Respect gives him that oxygen. Respect tells him, you don't have to perform for me to value you. That is powerful, because most men live their lives performing, at work, in society, even sometimes in friendships. But when he finds someone who can look at him and say, I see the man, not just the mask, that's when he realizes this isn't just another connection. This is love starting to form. And here's the other thing. Respect creates space for a man to open up. The more respected he feels, the more vulnerable he becomes. You'll notice he starts sharing more, leaning in more, letting you see parts of him that not everyone gets access to. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens because he's registering, consciously or not. I can trust this person with my heart because I feel valued by them. Respect is the soil that allows the deeper emotions to grow. Without it, attraction stays on the surface. With it, attraction matures into attachment. So when we talk about how men fall in love, remember this. It doesn't start with candlelight dinners or grand gestures. It starts with the quiet, consistent experience of feeling respected. When he feels that, he doesn't just like being around you. He starts to imagine life with you, because respect is the doorway to a man's heart. If there's one thing that makes a man truly fall in love, it's consistency. Not perfection, not constant excitement, but consistency. And that's something a lot of people underestimate. See, men may be drawn in by spark, but they stay and fall deeper because of stability. Love doesn't grow in chaos. It grows in the calm that tells him, I can trust this. Think about it this way. Most men live with a kind of pressure that they don't always talk about. The pressure to provide, to succeed, to keep it together, to be strong. And with that pressure comes a constant sense of uncertainty. Am I doing enough? Am I good enough? Will I be able to handle what's coming next? When he meets someone whose presence feels steady, someone who isn't hot one day and cold the next, someone whose words and actions match, that steadiness becomes a shelter. It becomes the place where he can breathe. And when a man finds a place he can breathe, he starts falling. Consistency doesn't mean being predictable in a boring way. It means reliability. It means if you say you'll show up, you show up. If you say you care, your actions prove it. It's about alignment, not perfection, because when a man sees that who you are today matches who you were yesterday, and he can trust that it'll be the same tomorrow, his guard lowers. He starts to feel safe giving more of himself because he knows it won't be wasted. On the other hand, inconsistency creates doubt. When someone says one thing but does another, or when their affection feels conditional, it leaves him questioning. And the moment a man starts questioning if he can rely on you, his emotions pull back. Not because he doesn't care, but because he's wired to protect himself from uncertainty. Love doesn't survive well in a constant state of guessing, but love thrives where there's clarity, and consistency is what builds that clarity. Now, some people think men fall for constant excitement, always keeping things unpredictable, always chasing the next thrill. But the truth is, men don't fall in love with chaos. They may chase it for a moment, but they build love with peace. They bond with the person who doesn't just make their heart race, but also makes their soul rest. That's what consistency provides, a sense of rest, a sense of I can trust this, I can lean on this, I don't have to keep my guard up here. And here's something worth noticing. Consistency is also contagious. When one person brings it into a relationship, the other person naturally starts matching it. It sets the tone. A man who feels consistent care, consistent respect, and consistent presence begins to reflect that back. He invests more, he communicates more, he shows up more, because consistency reassures him that he won't be met with rejection or disappointment. Consistency also creates memories. It's the small, repeated moment, checking in, being thoughtful, showing kindness again and again, that build the picture of love in his mind. Those little patterns matter more than big, one-time gestures, because a single grand moment can impress him, but consistency over time is what convinces him. That's when he stops seeing you as someone he's just interested in and starts seeing you as someone he wants to build a future with. At the end of the day, men don't fall in love with intensity. They fall in love with reliability. It's not about how bright the fire burns in the beginning. It's about how steady the flame stays over time. Consistency is what turns attraction into trust, and trust is what turns trust into love. You said, expand key point 3 into a 600-word segment, flowing naturally within the speech and maintaining alignment with the overall key points. Avoid any headings and ensure the tone is seamless and conversational. Conclude with only the necessary closing line for impact and don't mention Jefferson Fisher, name and write it like Jefferson Fisher. Is giving speech, ChatGPT said. If there's one thing that makes a man's heart soften, it's appreciation. Not the kind that's forced, not the kind that's exaggerated, but the simple, genuine recognition of who he is and what he does. Because here's the truth, men often carry more than they show. They might not always talk about it, but they're constantly trying, constantly giving, constantly stepping into roles that demand from them. And when someone notices, even the small things, it hits them in a way that goes deeper than attraction ever could. Appreciation is like fuel for connection. You don't have to write a speech every time he does something kind. You don't have to throw a parade when he makes an effort. Sometimes it's just a smile and a, thank you, I noticed that, or I love how you did that. Those moments linger, because men, no matter how strong they act, are often starving for acknowledgement. The world expects them to perform, to deliver, to keep going, but it rarely pauses to say, "Hey, I see you." When you become the person who does that, you become different in his eyes, and here's the powerful part. Appreciation makes him want to do more. It creates a cycle. When he feels valued for what he does, even in the little ways, he naturally wants to give more, to show up more, to pour more into the relationship. Not because he's being manipulated, but because appreciation makes him feel alive. It makes him feel like his effort has meaning, and when effort has meaning, love grows. Now, don't confuse appreciation with flattery. Flattery is surface, level. It's empty words meant to get a reaction. Appreciation is specific, it's intentional, it's honest. It's when you point out something real, something thoughtful, something unique about him. Maybe it's the way he takes care of details. Maybe it's how he makes you laugh after a long day. Maybe it's how hard he works even when he's tired. Those are the kinds of things that build love, because appreciation says, "I'm paying attention to you." And attention is love's greatest fertilizer. Think about how this plays out. If a man brings you coffee every morning, at some point it can feel routine. But if you pause one day and say, "I love how you do this for me, it makes my mornings better," suddenly that routine act is transformed. It's not just coffee anymore, it's connection. He feels seen, and because of that, he feels closer to you. That's the power of appreciation. It takes something ordinary and turns it into something meaningful. It also creates safety for vulnerability. When a man feels appreciated, he doesn't feel judged. He doesn't feel like he has to constantly prove himself. Instead, he feels free to be himself. He starts opening up more, sharing more, letting you see the deeper parts of him. Appreciation unlocks that because it tells him you're enough as you are and what you give matters. Over time, those small acknowledgments stack up. They create an emotional memory. He begins to associate you with a sense of value, with the feeling of being seen and recognized. And that's what love really is. Not just passion, not just chemistry, but the deep emotional bond that says, "With you, I feel like I matter." So when we talk about how men fall in love, never overlook appreciation. It's simple, it's quiet, but it's powerful. Because a man doesn't just fall in love with the person who attracts him. He falls in love with the person who makes him feel valued. One of the most overlooked parts of how men fall in love is laughter. It sounds almost too simple, but it's real. Men don't just fall for the person who looks good on their arm. They fall for the person who makes them feel good when they're around them. And nothing brings that feeling to life like laughter. When a man can laugh with you, when he can let his guard down and enjoy those light, easy moments, something shifts. He doesn't just see you as someone he's attracted to. He starts to see you as someone he belongs with. Laughter creates a bond that words can't always explain. It's not about telling the perfect joke or being the funniest person in the room. It's about the shared moment, the inside joke, the way you can catch each other's eye and know exactly what the other person is thinking. Those moments stick. They build intimacy without even trying, and for men, that connection is powerful because it means he can be himself. He doesn't have to impress you. He doesn't have to perform. He doesn't have to be on guard. He can just enjoy being in the moment with you. That's when he starts associating you with happiness. And happiness is addictive. Here's the thing, men often carry stress they don't talk about. They go through their day holding in frustrations, responsibilities, pressures. But when he's with someone who makes him laugh, even for a few minutes, it gives him a break from all of that. You become his escape, not in the sense of running away from life, but in the sense of giving him a space where life feels lighter. That kind of connection doesn't just attract him, it anchors him. It tells him, "This is what I want more of. This is where I feel at peace." And it's not just about comedy, it's about comfort. The ability to laugh together means there's a level of trust. It means he's comfortable enough to let his walls down, to be silly, to not take himself so seriously. For a lot of men, that doesn't come easy. But when it happens, it builds intimacy in a way that no serious conversation ever could. It says, I can show you the real me, the goofy, unpolished, imperfect me, and I know you'll laugh with me, not at me. That's love in motion. Think about the memories that last the longest. They're not always the big, dramatic gestures. More often, it's the small moments that make you smile just thinking about them. The road trip where you couldn't stop laughing at something silly, the quiet night where one funny comment turned into an hour of inside jokes, the unexpected laughter that broke the tension in an argument. Those moments matter because they weave joy into the fabric of the relationship. And for men, joy is what makes love feel like home. The beauty of laughter is that it's contagious. The more you share it, the more you want it. It becomes a rhythm, a habit, a reason to keep showing up, and men fall in love with that rhythm. They fall in love with the idea that life with you isn't just about surviving, it's about enjoying. They fall in love with the fact that with you, the hard days don't feel quite as heavy, and the good days feel even better. So when it comes to how men fall in love, remember this. They don't just fall for the person who makes their heart race. They fall for the person who makes their soul smile. If there's one thing that changes everything for a man, it's when he feels safe enough to be vulnerable. That's not something most men walk around offering freely. From a young age, many are taught to keep their emotions tucked away, to push through, to carry the weight without showing strain. They're told to be strong, to be providers, to be protectors. But underneath that armor, every man has fears, insecurities, doubts, and moments when he just needs someone to lean on. Love begins to take root when he realizes he can bring those parts of himself to you without fear of being judged, rejected, or made to feel weak. Men don't usually fall in love because of physical attraction alone. It's deeper than that. They fall in love with the person who makes it safe to take the mask off. Think about how rare that is. The world often demands men to perform, to win, to provide, to hold it all together. But when he finds someone who says, you don't have to carry all of that alone, I've got space for the real you, that's when his heart starts to shift. Vulnerability is where true intimacy begins, and love is always tied to intimacy. Here's the thing, vulnerability doesn't mean he's falling apart every day. It can be as simple as admitting he's tired, sharing something that scares him, or opening up about what he truly wants for his life. And the moment he feels like he can say those things without being dismissed or criticized, he associates that safety with you. He starts to trust that you're not just there for the polished version of him, you're there for the human version of him. That's what makes him feel deeply connected, and it works both ways. When you create an environment where he can be vulnerable, he also feels encouraged to support you in the same way. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's actually one of the strongest forms of love because it requires trust. A man won't open up to just anyone. He'll only do it with someone he believes will treat that side of him with care. If you think about it, the people we love most in life are the ones we trust with our flaws, not just our strengths. That's how men fall in love too. What's powerful about emotional support is that it doesn't always require answers or solutions. Sometimes it's not about fixing his problems. It's about being present with him in them. It's about listening, encouraging, reminding him he doesn't have to be perfect to be loved. And when he gets that from you, he doesn't just feel affection. He feels belonging. That's the difference. Affection might draw him close, but belonging makes him stay. Love is never just about the good times. It's about who stands beside you when things aren't easy. For men, the memory of who supported them when they were low is something they never forget. It bonds them to you in a way that surface-level attraction never could. Because attraction can fade, circumstances can change, but the feeling of being truly supported sticks with him forever. So when we talk about how men fall in love, remember this. What opens the door is not just beauty, respect, or laughter. What locks it in place is emotional safety. Because when a man feels safe to be vulnerable with you, he doesn't just like you, he loves you. At the heart of how men fall in love, there's something simple but powerful: admiration. Every man wants to feel like he matters, like he's capable, like the woman by his side truly sees him as someone worth believing in. Attraction might spark his interest, respect might open the door, appreciation might make him feel valued, but admiration, that's what makes him choose. That's what makes him say, "This is the person I want to give my heart to." Admiration isn't about pretending he's perfect. It's not about praising every little thing or boosting his ego just to make him feel good. Real admiration comes from genuinely recognizing his strengths, the effort he puts into his life, and the way he shows up. It's when you look at him and say, "I love how hard you work for what you care about," or "I respect the kind of man you are becoming." Those words go straight past the surface and into the core of who he is. Because deep down, every man is asking himself, "Am I enough?" And when the answer from you is yes, not just because of what he has, but because of who he is, that's when love takes hold. Men may not say it out loud, but they're constantly measuring themselves against other men, against expectations, against the version of themselves they want to be. And while the world is quick to criticize, quick to point out flaws or shortcomings, admiration offers the opposite. It says, "I see your effort, I see your growth, I see what's good in you." That doesn't just make him feel good, it makes him feel safe, safe enough to bring more of himself into the relationship, safe enough to keep trying, safe enough to love without hesitation. Think about it. Most men will give the best of themselves where they feel admired. They'll step up more, give more, love more, when they know the person beside them truly believes in them. It's not about stroking pride, it's about feeding purpose. When a man feels admired, he doesn't just feel loved. He feels inspired. He starts becoming even more of the man he wants to be, not out of pressure, but out of the natural pull that admiration creates. And here's the beautiful part. Admiration isn't only for the big achievements. In fact, it's often the little acknowledgments that matter most. Noticing the way he keeps showing up even on hard days. Admiring the patience he shows with his family. Respecting the way he treats people when no one's watching. These things might seem small, but when you speak them out loud, they echo in his heart. They remind him that who he is seen and valued. And that's what creates deep emotional bonding. Of course, admiration doesn't mean ignoring flaws or avoiding honesty. Love always requires truth, but even in moments of correction or conflict, admiration can still exist. You can challenge someone and still communicate that you believe in them. You can disagree and still admire the person they are. That balance is powerful because it tells him your admiration isn't conditional, it's real. And real admiration lasts. When all is said and done, men don't fall in love just because someone looks at them. They fall in love because of how they feel about themselves when they're with that person. And admiration has a way of making a man feel like he's standing taller, like he's capable of more, like he's truly seen. Because when a man feels admired by you, he doesn't just want to be with you. He wants to choose you forever.